So today I am joined by somebody pretty special down in SA. Do you want to introduce yourself and let us know where you're from?
Yeah, so I'm Lachlan Turner. I'm the operations manager here at Ray White Unley, Kernlight Gardens. Yeah, I guess head of the property management team here. So yeah.
And Lachlan and his team have been with us for, we're almost a year together now, I think.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
Yeah. And to give a little bit of background, you guys are currently using Property Tree because that is your trust accounting suite that you were using. And I'm keen to talk a little bit around your first sort of aha moment with Tapi. When did you know, oh, we've made a good decision?
Yeah, we come from a previous software that just really wasn't meeting our expectations with how we use and how we manage maintenance within our business. So when we come across Tapi, it was actually through like a property management collective, PM collective, that I heard about it first and foremost. They're a really well-run machine over there, so I knew that it was always going to be a good jump if I did make the jump. So we did, and it's been very, very simple in regards to setting it up. All of the maintenance that we had existing within the platform that we're using got moved over. So it was very intuitive for our property managers to hit the ground running. In regards to like the day-to-day operations of using Tapi, from my perspective, it was really important to have really good reporting on what our portfolio was doing and how it was performing. Things like tracking jobs that have been open for more than 60 days, what's left outstanding for particular trades, what trades are running behind. And Tapi does all of that for you, really, with a couple of clicks of a button. So yeah, really, really beneficial for our business. Yeah.
That's awesome. And you've touched on a couple of pieces there, which I think is super important to people when they're changing software, right? So the first thing that you sort of mentioned was that peer review and that space where you felt that you could actually see from the community that there was a platform out there that did provide what you needed. I guess, do you have any tips that you'd say to anyone who was looking for new software? What would you sort of say that they look for?
Yeah, I've always been of the mindset that, especially with new different softwares, and obviously we've got a lot in like the space of AI and everything like that at the moment. So you're getting pitched quite often. Does depend on your capacity, but I try and make sure I'm meeting with these providers as often as possible. I don't really ever turn away an opportunity, even if I'm happy with my current software, because I am of that philosophy of if you're not continuously moving along, then you're just going to get caught behind. And I think that sometimes, like obviously not in your case, but some providers can find that if they've got the business, I guess, and it's functioning with how it currently is, there's not really much growth that happens. So
Yeah.
it's very important to keep looking at those new improved systems that can obviously help the workflow overall, because that's what you're trying to do, is minimize that workflow. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, look, I so agree. Like, I would always continue to look at my existing processes and be like, okay, well, cool, we've got it to level B. How do we get to level A? And then just, you can continue and continue. So I'm so with you on that. And you also mentioned a really cool piece there around continuing to meet with your account manager or CSM, and obviously it's my team, but I'm keen
Yeah.
to sort of hear around how you found the support at Tapi in terms of account management and just day to day with our chat function.
Yeah, I really enjoy the chat. I mean, in particular, the knowledge base itself is like really helpful. I'm quite a procedural based person, so there isn't really too many tasks within our business that I don't have a procedure for. But when I don't, it's just like simply like linking a property manager to what they need to do. Because I guess like from an operations point of view, like you don't want to ever get into that feeling of like doing it for someone. It's not a good practice to get in by any means. So having a knowledge base that's already built out, it's very simple to be like, oh, let me look up how to do that for you and then send them the link. So it creates making sure like your business roles continue the same, especially when there is like that, I guess, teething process of changing softwares. It's good to know that you've got somewhere to go, where if I don't have the answer, or say, well, I mean, you've never not been available for me, which is really good. But if that was the case, I do try and like look things up before I come to you, of course. So yeah, there's always that ability. From your perspective, you've always been very very prompt with following up to see how we're going. And I guess Tarpy from a like comms, like a communication perspective with our office, I found the whole like even in your emails, it's very like conversational. It's never sometimes I think in like the industry we can get a bit like, thank you for your email. Hope this finds me well.
Clinical.
Like, yeah. And I'm like, I just get so sick of it. So from a comms perspective, it's been really refreshing to have that approach where it is conversational, and you don't feel like I can't ask you anything. So yeah, thank you.
I'm so pleased you feel that way. That's super important to us. Like for us, it truly is a community, and that is why we invest so much into that help center. We're just like you. It's teach a man to fish. Like we want to make sure that that consultancy level is consistently there with everything that we do, even if it's as small as how to create a tradie free dashboard or to like best practice for reminder settings or whatever. It needs to have that sort of hand-holding mindset for every single user. So I'm really pleased that you feel that way. You also sort of mentioned something there a little bit around when it's coming to switching up softwares, it is quite daunting. Can you just tell me a little bit around maybe the fears that you were experiencing before coming onto Tarpy, and did any of them materialize?
I think one of the, not so much like the softwares themselves, but I think you can get over-promised quite a bit. And yeah, that's kind of what happened a lot for the previous provider that we had. We just found that there was, I think there was about 12 key points that I pointed out to them that was like just not hitting what we were after. And I think that that's where a lot of the worry comes from, is that, okay, it all sounds really good. And then once you put it into practice, it's really hard to see before you've signed up what it looks like. I guess like from Tarpy's perspective, it was easy to see, because I was run through so well from your team, what it would actually look like on a daily function. Because at the end of the day, you don't want to plug something into your business that's completely different from a workflow perspective than what you're already doing. So I got to see what the back end looked like. You showed me reporting, you did all of that. So yeah, I wasn't, there's been nothing since moving to Tarpy that I'm like, oh, that's disappointing, or that's not how it was. There's been nothing like that, which is really good.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. And I think that whether it be Tarpy or different software, I think a lot of how the world's going at the moment is companies try to be not the best at one thing, but try and put their fingers in a lot of different pies, if that makes sense. Whereas Tarpy is really specific with what they do, so it's done really well. Whereas I was finding like different other companies that we had used in the past were kind of like, oh, we can just build on a maintenance arm into what we already do, but it just wasn't really good. So there's like a difference between just like adding something onto your business rather than like really focusing around it. So that's what, I think have been a big benefit. From
I think it's so important, right? Our whole core mission is to make maintenance suck less. And so everything that we do is going to continually roll back into that clear objective, because we know that maintenance is the number one reason that landlords are choosing property managers. And so we need to make it as easy as possible for the PMs. We need to reduce that conflict. We need to make sure that you can do everything in seconds. So I'm really stoked that you sort of feel that we are able to deliver on that, which is awesome. One final thing that I am keen to just touch on is you've recently rolled out the Inspection Express and Tarpy integration, which is super exciting. Can you just tell me a little bit around what that's been able to do for you and the team?
Yeah, I guess from our perspective, especially as we run the portfolio or the business a little bit differently, where we have an inspection manager that does the routines themselves, and then the property manager is a bit more in office. That's just strategically our view on how we wish to do it. It's not right or wrong, it just might be different to how other people do it. In that perspective, what it's meant is our property managers still read through the reports, but there's no, I guess, manual of reading the report, entering maintenance that was already on the report, sending it. You know what I mean? Like, it was a bit like,
Yeah.
it's just very clunky that way. Whereas now the inspection manager will actually enter the maintenance whilst on site. It actually flows through from TARPI saying via inspection as well, which I think is really like important. It seems so simple, but from if I've ever had to follow up on behalf of someone that might have been away, I can at least say that, like, oh, that we noticed that at an inspection that we conducted, it wasn't reported by the tenant. So it just makes the conversation with the owner, like, you really know what you're talking about, and where that maintenance come from. TARPI also obviously has the merge function, so we've been using that because sometimes, like, I guess you might have like 5 different jobs that come through, but when the property manager sees all those jobs, we can just merge them together, send it off as one to the owner, and it makes it easy from there, like comms perspective to the owner. It makes it a lot more simpler, rather than getting 6 emails. So yeah, that's a really good option. Yeah. So
And
really,
yeah, I was just going to say, you sort of touched on sort of 2 pieces there, which I think is super, super important. Is firstly, like, property managers should not be doing data entry. Like,
yes.
they are so highly skilled in terms of their communication skills and the way in which they can diffuse conflict. Like, we cannot be having them re-entering an inspection job. So I'm so stoked that we've been able to help with sort of removing that task. They can focus in on those bigger conversations. And then the second piece that you've touched on, and you put it really eloquently, right, is you really need all of the information in front of you to make a fantastic touch point to that landlord. And you do not want to look like you don't know where that originated from or exactly what's happened in the moment since it was originated. So both of those things, like, I'm really proud of those. As you said, small but so important sort of little features. And I'm so stoked that you guys are using them.
Yeah, another I'll just quickly touch on is at the inspections, like, we obviously put in our report any kind of conditions of the home that aren't necessarily maintenance, but like, we at least put it on the report. So there might be like some structural cracking or something like hairline fractures in a house, because there's a lot of movement here in Adelaide. And from our perspective, again, like, this is just one thing that we do, but we actually report that into TARPI, like the inspection manager, because at least, like, in TARPI, when we're sending it to the owner, there's a yes or no function to approve it or not. If it's just written on the report, like, we've noticed that there's structural cracking, they can just kind of gloss over that and not really like ever talk about it. And I guess in a day and age where it is quite obviously tough out there at the moment with what it costs to get everything done, we at least want to know from our business's perspective if the owner has said yes or no to getting something done. It's very much like that simple, and yeah, it makes it much more clearer as well. So yeah,
Everything in writing, super, super important. Well, hey, we love working with you. It's been an amazing year and I can't wait for the rest to come. Thank you so much for your time.
no worries. Thank you very much.